Hello, good evening, Programmers Live once again. We ended our previous episode while talking about functions, having examples, and we really had a lot to talk about, and yet more is still to come in the coming episodes when we are having other sections of the language. So I would love to begin this section for this episode by going back to the questions that we had outlined. I know some of you have already endeavored to do some of them, but there is no harm in for us to try out some together. So definitely, of course, I'm not going to do all of them, but I'm going to try out one or two of them, then shall move to what we really need to do today. Now, I find this interesting, more so based on what we have covered earlier, so I think we should have this spotted out. So I'm going to look out for program to mess up or the screen to mess up already. I don't want to bother myself to begin again. It's wastage of time, and since I'm online, so I would love that time is used so much profitably. So the scenario is a program that takes as input a 4-digit number in format like 2011 and performs the following action. So calculates the sum of digits. Now, what is this program calling for? Of course, let's try to ignore all this since it's unnecessary. So first, we're going to be a bit open. We shall not maybe limit ourselves to the number of digits in a number. So let's be open-minded a bit. So the sum of all digits in a certain number. How about that? Sum of all digits in a certain number. We can do some designing. Okay, doesn't do any harm. Programming is about exploring. Now, remember, someone enters a number like 2011. So the program has the mandate to split this number, like it takes out the 2, it takes out the 0, it takes out the 1, and it takes out the 1. Assume that is the number. Now, here the program has a challenge of making the program able to split the whole figure into digits. Now, the easiest way to do this is by having an algorithm. Okay, you're going to do this by having an algorithm. If you remember where we started from, we said algorithms are sequential procedures which, when executed, the problem is solved. So the easiest way to interpret this is, of course, to first have a solution, then we go into the concept of programming. So our algorithm is going to be simple for understanding. One, we shall say capture the number. We shall capture the number, assume it's the program. So on capturing the number, it means the user types the number from the keyboard. Now we ask the program to compute the modulus of the number. I think remember what we call modulus. I'll keep reminding you for cases where you seem to be forgetful, but if you're forgetful, then you cease to be a good programmer. Reason being, we said each time you learn something, you're equipping your toolbox, and the toolbox I'm talking about is the head. So if you keep remembering and losing at the same time, then the journey is going to be delayed a bit. Then 3, compute the sum of all remainders. Remember the modulus, we said the modulus focuses on the remainders, so it means step 3, compute the sum of all remainders of the number. Okay, then 4, divide that number by 10. Now someone is going to ask, why do you do the modulus, then later why do you sum up the remainders, then as you do that, then why do you divide by 10? That is why we are saying we're having an algorithm. An algorithm means a perfect way to go about a problem. So that would be the best idea, or that would be the best solution, but of course keeping in mind some principles. That is why we are dividing by 10. Okay, because each time you divide by 10, definitely you're targeting the last value or the last digit of a particular number. So 5, we shall repeat. Okay, we shall repeat. Step 2, for as long as the number we are handling is greater than 0. So definitely we are able to get what we really want. Ladies and gentlemen, we are focusing on that question up there. So if it's a program, what do we need? We shall need the number. Okay, we shall need the sum or the total. Then we shall need another remainder that is going to help us. So we shall need a variable that is going to help us hold the remainder. So for this case, as usual, I ask you to initialize. Even the total is gonna be initialized, and the number which we don't know yet, that is why we initialize. So in the next bit, we shall say cout. We shall ask the user to enter the number in question. For example, if it was 2011, the way we have it in the question, then that number is going to be captured. So we shall capture the number and store in num. Now if you try to look at the algorithm is saying repeat step 2 for as long as the number is greater than 0. So it means that is a loop. Automatically, if we command that a certain section should be repeated in execution, definitely that is a loop. So you choose, you either decide that you use a while loop or you use a for loop. So but for starters, maybe let's begin with a while loop. So while loop, of course the condition has been stated on number 5 for as long as the number is greater than 0. So we shall send num greater than 0. So if num is greater than 0, what is going to be the first step? You keep track of the remainder. So remainder, track the remainders. So remainder is going to be remainder is num modulus. Okay, modulus what? Modulus 10. So compute the modulus of the number, but this is by, let's make it straight, this is by 10. Okay, so then the next bit is going to be, of course, we have total, or we have sum is total plus the remainder. Okay, it is here. Compute the sum of all remainders. Okay, the sum of all remainders. So here I'll say sum of all remainders after tracking it up there. Then we go to step 4, divide the number by 10. Divide the number by 10. So how are we going to do that? So it is num, num is assigned num divided by 10. Okay, so I think we are done. So jumping out of the loop, shall say out the sum of digits in what? In num is total. Ladies and gentlemen, are we okay? Wow. So that is why I was saying I found it interesting, more so basing on what we have just covered previously. So a loop is really working out perfectly, but of course, as usual, we are never sure for until when it is executing. Now we shall need a calculator. So we are having 2021. So 2021, that is 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1, which is 5. Okay, so it means we should get 5 for our input is 221, the current year. Unexpected is on line 9. Where is line 9? What did I do? What did I do? It's what I told you. We are never safe. Using namespace standard. Okay, control copy again. Control A, control V. Okay, I don't know how this went in, but definitely that was an error. So we run again. 2021, debugging is key. 2021, the answer is 5. Okay, the answer is 5. Number of digits in 0. I've seen where the problem is. It's saying in 0 because we had a continuous division. So by the time we jump out of the while loop, num has reached the bottom level, which was 0. That is why it stops executing, or it stops splitting the number. So that is okay. that is really okay. So that is an interesting number. Now from this section, still I would want to look at something that is so important in line with functions. Now all along I've been typing something like, let me show you. I'm going to play with this program or from this program. All along I've been typing something like int then main. If I say main, main has been coming with a series of parameters here, and all along I've been telling you that for as of now, or as of previous, it wasn't really that so important to us for us to know what is the meaning of those parameters, even before we got to know they are called parameters. So in my thinking, I was like, since we have talked about functions and main is also a function, then why don't we get a hint about those parameters? When are they used? What do they mean? So that is where I want us to really give a focus. Sorry about that, a focus from. So I'll copy this line and I will take it here. Okay, so that we scrutinize and try to get to know the details about such kind of a main function. Now, as usual, what I'm begging for is your attention. Now, this is the main function. Okay, the return type is an integer. I'll begin with that. Why is it that each time when we write the main function, the return type is integer? Now, by default, the main function is an integer. I'll say it again in another way. By default, the return type of the main function is integer, and that is evident with the reason as to why we say return 0 when we complete the program. Now, saying main just without int is the same as saying int main. Why? Because by default the main function's return type is main. Again, after the main we have int argc, we have char const, then a string array of characters. That is why it's putting an asterisk to mean a pointer, but of course that is going to be our next coverage. But definitely what I'm trying to focus on right now, what do those parameters mean? Now, to congest it into one term, those parameters are called command line arguments. Once again, those parameters are called command line arguments. What do I mean? Listen. When a program is executed under an operating system, what should I say? Okay, here we go. Command line, of course, means using a screen that accepts commands, what we call the command line interface, the CLI, whereby you operate a certain interface with only commands from the keyboard, no clicking, no icons, no whatever. So on such a screen, that is what we call a command line interface. Now, this is what happens in the world of programming, and why those parameters are appearing inside the main. Here is the concept. If a program is being executed under an operating system, for example, if a program is executed under DOS or Unix, for those of you who don't know DOS means disk operating system. Then Unix is also a platform. It's among operating systems. So it can be passed 0 or more arguments. I'm saying it can be passed 0 or more arguments, but these arguments appear after the program executable name and are separated by blanks. I'm saying these arguments appear after the program executable name and are separated by blanks. Reason: because they appear on the same line as where the operating system commands are issued. So this is the reason as to why they are called command line arguments. For example, this is something like this. If I say cmd, the command prompt, so this is what I mean by these arguments appear after the program executable name and they are separated by blanks. So blanks means like moving from one, something like that, because this is a command prompt, so it's a command line interface. So that is something like that. I'm trying to pull out a picture for you altogether. Now, command line arguments are made available in C++ programs. How is this evident? This is what I mean. Let me close some of these things. No, because we already have them in our previous episodes. Where should I go? Okay, let me create a new one here. So I'll just go to file and say file new. File. I already have a new one here, so all I need is view, syntax, then C++. Now if I say hash include then IO stream, then assume I'm writing a real program using namespace standard. So here when I say main, Sublime automatically knows I need the main function. So this is it. That is why it brings the main function with all those arguments. So reason: command line arguments are made available to the C++ program via the main function. Okay, and there are two ways in which the main can be defined. One of the ways is when I use that. So back to our previous screen. Where was it? Oh no, where was the program? I don't need this anymore. Sorry about that. Line draw. Okay, so one of them is there, like we had outlined before. Then another one is having int main, then we are having void altogether. So that is another way of having those two definitions. Now this one when do we use this? That is why I told you You might not require that in the previous sessions. This is used when the program is intended to accept command line arguments. So intention to accept command line arguments. That is when you use, because some of you, I know, you were asking, now when do we use that? Each time you put main, you delete them. Aren't they necessary? Are they necessary? So I'm answering now. So the intention is when you are to accept what we call command line arguments. Now, explanation. RGC. This one denotes the number of arguments passed to the program. Okay, that is in times of calling, the number of arguments passed to the program. So including the name of, let me break it from here, including the name of itself. Okay, the name of the program itself. So that is RGC. Then we have arguments V. Okay, arg means argument. Okay, so we have argument V. Now it's an array. Of course, we haven't looked at arrays, but we shall. It's an array of the string constants which represent the arguments. Okay, for example, I told you I love working with examples. So if I have RGC, if I had a line of inputs, then this one can be maybe okay. Now, okay, let me explain it this way. I show my program as called sum. Okay, and I'm adding two numbers, that is 10.4 and 12.5. okay, so it means that if RGC, my program is called sum, assume the program was called sum.cpp. okay, then sum, definitely I'm going to add 10.4 and 12.4. now we are saying that RGC denotes the number of arguments passed to the program, including the name of the program itself. So what does this mean? If I say RGC, then the number of arguments are 1, that is sum, then 2, then 3. So it means that the first parameter is gonna be sum, which is the name of the program. Then if I say args_v, remember we are saying it's an array of the string constants which represent the arguments. So it means I'll index from 0. Guys, I don't know if this is really clear because we haven't covered arrays, but I think it will make sense. Of course, I will be reflecting back. So this one is gonna be sum. So sum is the first string constant from the 3. So it will be args_v, which is 1, because remember we indexed from 0. So definitely this is gonna be the first very value, which was 10.4. Then adds v again, which was 2. Then is sorry about the spelling here. Then this one is gonna be 12.5. Okay, so what is really happening is we are trying to explain those two parameters. Okay, so I might not have a practical example right now since it involves use of arrays, but of course I promise we shall come back to this section and make it more clear. But all in all, at least I've given you a hint about how those parameters come into play, when are they applicable, and what does each of them mean. So in our next session we are going to look at arrays. Okay, so be ready to watch the following episode after this one. It will be talking about arrays, which are also very, very essential from what we have done. Now later, arrays will be integrated with functions, the ones that we have just talked about in the previous few episodes. So it will really be sweet, and it will make programming more meaningful. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Programmers Life. If you want to get in touch, my WhatsApp is +256 751 824973, or reach out on programmerslife@gmail.com. So I sign out for now.